Hello guys, if you haven't noticed, my research topic is on the KKK. The Ku Klux Klan, otherwise known as the KKK, is not thoroughly talked about in history books. The KKK formed not after African American culture emerged in the United States. This terrorist organization was known for targeting African Americans and other minority groups to maintain their white supremacy. Their chapters were widespread throughout the American South and eventually over the whole United States. The reason I selected this topic was because I wanted to figure out why the KKK started to begin with and why it is influential to a lot of the racist people in the United States. Given that our history books don't really dive too much into it, it has given me more initiative to piece out why they started. This contributes to African American history because the KKK played a big role in the liberty and the freedom African Americans had, which was none. The KKK had control over everything through terrorism. And with their white supremacy virtues and values, they did not really coincide with African Americans. The 5 main points of this research would have to be the beginning of the KKK, what they wore, their general gear, the KKK of the 1920s, and how it rose up. And the last point would have to do with how it was engraved into the United States politics. The KKK started with General Nathan Bedford Forrest. He and many other Southern Confederates were upset that after losing the war, many African Americans were in the South free. It did not fit their political agenda, and therefore they wanted to do something about it, which in terms formed the KKK. The KKK's gear consisted of white cloaks and a white head cap to conceal their identity. All of their acts of violence were through night rides, carrying flame torches and going through towns in order to scare people. All of their acts of violence were in response to African Americans wanting their freedom. Now this consisted of lynchings, beatings, and sometimes massacres when they had to do with any political agendas. The most popular KKK and the most influential was the one in the 1920s after the Birth of the Nation film was shown in movie theaters all over the United States. With this film, it idolized the Night Riders in horses and gained popularity very quickly, leaving everybody in the nation shocked as to how positive the KKK was being depicted. By the time the KKK had formally been introduced in this era, they had already been embedded in politics. They had many active members serving in many prestigious positions. The Klan was very smart in incorporating politics to their agendas because having power gave them an opportunity to expand their beliefs to any potential members. Within that time period, they had up to 4 million members serving in the United States. Overall, this research has given me the opportunity to learn more about the Ku Klux Klan. To begin with, I didn't really know how the Ku Klux Klan was started, and I answered that through the research. Also, I understood why they wore their cloaks and why they terrorized others. I also didn't know that through history there was different segments of the Ku Klux Klan. The Ku Klux Klan post-Reconstruction era and the Ku Klux Klan of the 1920s. Now, they expanded over the period of history, but their more popular appearances were within those times. It has impacted me because as a minority in the United States, the Ku Klux Klan was just a group of people who hated minorities and hated change. All they wanted was the Anglo-American ideology to be incorporated throughout the whole United States. This nation was made by immigrants, and for people like those involved in the Ku Klux Klan to terrorize immigrants and minorities isn't ethical. My name is Brian Quintero, Thank you very much. That was my presentation on the Ku Klux Klan.